Welcome back. What happened last? Like, wait, I'm just unsure about exactly what happened, so... Is it Friday today, maybe? I think that was like... Yeah. I know it's Friday. The night wears on without any further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush. A strange sort of stillness unlike the ones greeting me every morning. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. And as expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voices of two squabbling adults echoing from the floor below. The quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wasn't. Ow! Could you let go?
Not a few seconds later, they both ascend the stairs, with Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. It's like a cheesy K-drama. The pulling the wrist kind of thing. Maybe it's just a probably Filipino thing too then. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood as she attempts to pry his hand off with her other one, or using unnecessary force to push herself away. Neither wishes better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has the good sense to realize that at least. However, it doesn't take the desperate edge in her voice when she answers Ashton's temper with her own. So, on they go, none the wiser to my presence.
Do you have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxburg knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason. We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will...
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Both of their heads snap up, almost in union. A displeased frown is on each of their faces, but this is a necessary interruption. What can they do? People still in their units have already taken interest on the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to crack open their doors if only slightly. So, if they don't keep it down, pretty soon our landlady will show up too. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen first thing on a Friday morning, even if this is hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
So that was what she was doing when she was like in the hallway with all the papers. She looked up their numbers. Column. Anyway, just a thing that I just remember, which is so strange, is that the news said that the most of the people who had been killed were working in the same agency as Isabella. So it seems like they're like the only people who are dying or being targeted are those who work there on the agencies. So, I mean, I don't know. It just seems weird. It might not be connected, but I mean, she had the help me right on the wall. Rose's death scene was like, they had the same words as the letter, which is so strange. But yeah. So I guess Isabella is at a bigger risk of getting killed than the others because she works there, right? It's so weird though.
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way. Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
That last bit strikes a chord pressed strongly at a memory. Exactly, look, this is memory. And by the way, do you remember that scene with when Marianne got trapped or imprisoned there with the video camera? It showed like those kids who found the letter, and then they like wanted to do something, I don't know, like a prank. So I'm thinking, did they add like pass this on to 5 people, or else did they do that, or did they never have the chance to do anything? Like I'm just thinking whether or not that was relevant, because now that I again think about it, wait a second, because Rose, no, not Rose, now I'm doing it again, Rebecca, at the start, she hadn't found the letter, but she heard the crying, and she had never seen the letter, she hadn't touched it, right? So, what if, wait, does that mean, what if the letter is all about the murder going on, and not the ghost at all? What if she didn't even write the letter or anything? But it did look ancient, though. When Isabella picked it up, she did mention that it looked really ancient. And she does say, help me. It's strange. Maybe someone is, like, trying to get revenge because their friends got murdered in the house. What if that's what's going on? And the murderer is someone who knew those kids who got killed inside a house. So there is a letter, and they picked it up, like they found a letter, and now like, oh, I might be onto something here. And now this person wants to revenge on people who are, well, getting involved in the house, basically. I guess this is so weird. I don't know. Because can like a ghost? I don't know. I'm so confused right now. Oh well. There might be like a murderer and a ghost, or the ghost is just a murderer. But yeah, just some thoughts there. It might just be the ghost doing the stuff. I don't know, man. But then again, the ghost is like, help me. So maybe the point is to like, to help them or not? I don't know. It's so weird. Like, figure out who killed you and why. But she's also like revengeful towards anybody, obviously, because she did trick people, and you know, Marianne is captured now because of it. It's all confusing to me. Okay, let's just keep going. At that vicious smile already etched deeply inside my mind. Wait, what smile? Whatever. Never mind. The image appears clear enough that, at the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse. There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time. And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
Like, again, I can see, like, there might be both the ghost and the murderer, or, yeah, like, or the ghost is simply the murderer. That's the question right now. They're obviously connected somehow. So. I wasn't chasing after.
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat, I'll agree with Ashton. That's how it has always been. Besides having a very good. Besides, he has a very good point. Really, they're the very same ones he'll make every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, what he wants to hear from me right now is far from what I've been sensing these past few days. It doesn't matter with Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and that letter she picked up is at the heart of this. But that's the thing, like, strange things happened to her before she picked up the letter. Because she picked up the letter later at the theater, and then she'd already been in the house. So strange things started happening to her just because she entered the house. Because she heard the crying, and she saw the shadow behind or around Luke. So I don't know about this. I'm a bit suspicious now. About how important the letter specifically is, that is. But however I respond to the question in their faces, only one of them will be pleased with it. Honestly, I want to say this because we saw her, right? This might be the way to, like, actually figure out what's going on. Like, we've seen her. I'm definitely going to go with this. Ashton in particular won't be too happy to hear it. Well, whatever. Imagining the look his face doesn't take too much effort. His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance shows, shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gaining a sharp edge. He's already bracing himself from disappointment, and it will be a disappointment. Not in a million years did I ever believe I'll be saying this either.
I might have seen her. The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head, and for a few moments, Ashton looks as if he's about to have a fit. A pause treads as its heels after a silence thick enough. One can almost hear a pin drop.
You're kidding, right?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Ash, I'm not lying. Why would I lie about this? It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter.
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
Why hasn't Ashton seen anything then? It's kind of odd. Isabella's voice cut sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument. What if he's like, holy shit, I'm hallucinating. I need to, like, get some medicine. That might be what he's thinking. I don't know.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault. I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. I'm sorry for dragging you all into this.
She breathes in, deeply steadying, and in that moment, something falls behind her eyes as she looks away. Wait, what?
I'll fix this. I promise.
A quiet result, or was it a tear? The same one I saw in her that night from 3 days ago. But this time it burns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at its sight when she looks him straight in the eyes, gaze unflinching. Gradually, his grip on her wrist loosens,
Belle, there's nothing to fix. The problem
Was
is...
he still holding onto her wrist this whole time? Really? Jeez.
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small and lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us, a hush descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me, but if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand atop his. Gentle, pleading, almost intimate, if one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Please.
Ashton will never tell a soul, will never admit it, even to himself, but it is in that short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eye softens and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a mutter of thanks and a small lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose in a gesture of frustration and surrender.
Did you really have to tell her that?
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping. Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already poised to leave when my own instinct takes over. I reach for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by voices whispering at the back of my mind. Well, now that I really think about it, maybe like the way to get rid of her is just to like pretend she's not there. Maybe that's so they're all gonna die. I'm gonna kill them all, I'm sorry. Whew. Well then. Great. I just want to figure out what's going on. He's already made it clear he's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. Who knows where all of this will take us, how all of this will end. He shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
A different kind of trust, granted implicitly and never spoken, sometimes too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment as he turns it over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before he departs and a promise to at least listen to her, without the teasing or the jibes. Jibes? Moving on. A favor for me and the least he could do for her. This is as much as I can do for him as well until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully, it's the 28th. Good. Tonight, hopefully, where this all started, will provide the answers I'm looking for. Yeah, we're going to meet Hana. Let's check our journal. Isabella and Ashton arrived at Salemwell, having an argument about the missing BRC employees' investigation. Annoyed by the noise, Rebecca interfered and, in the end, asked Ashton to keep an open mind. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Of all the cabbies in Luxborn, I have to chance upon the superstitious one. Still not as bad as finding out your car's starter refuses to crank on when it was still working this morning, yeah? But it's equally as frustrating when you're forced to walk the rest of the way. All because the driver got spooked. Isabella and him will get along so well. I do get his reasons. After all, I've had my fair taste of the bizarre lately. all of which might have been brought upon by that letter Isabella found here. Or maybe it just was like, yeah, she'd already picked it up, I guess. I don't know. Maybe she didn't really need to like read the letter herself. I don't know. It's so weird. It doesn't seem. Then again, the ghost didn't appear until she picked up the letter for the first time. Isabella, that is. But the thing is that it's obvious that, again, Rebecca had not read the letter when she heard the noise and the crying. That is the strange part of this. You think he'd at least be charitable enough to take me a little closer to the house itself, not a distance 15 minutes away from it by foot. Good thing I'm not wearing anything too formal or constricting. Otherwise, that short walk would have likely put me in a bad mood, long before I have to suffer in a room full of strangers tonight. I would probably just gone barefoot if that was the case. Although, this soon proves to be a problem the second the driveway comes into view and I near the entrance. Severely underdressed is a total understatement. I can't read it to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and Shiloh home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. Once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Mrs. Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This, despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests, or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman and the subject of every gossip in Luxbourne.
Welcome everyone!
And Mum said we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with this kind of guest she has. Though I admit she does seem familiar now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flit briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please, make yourselves at home!
I wish I can share her enthusiasm, really. But being surrounded by all this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, really makes me dread now that the rest of the night might go. I shouldn't have let Luke's words affect me like that. I should have just gone ahead and asked Ashton like I planned. If he were here, then I won't have to.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Oh my gosh. What? Was not expecting that, am I right? The rest of that thought dies in my mind at once. A moment of astonishment overcomes me before confusion sets in seconds later. It takes another for my body to catch up. Once it does, when I finally turn to see it for myself, it's this familiar mop of hair that catches my eyes first. And there he is, almost an arm's reach if it isn't for the guest standing between us. Ashton Frey, standing in the Ermengarde Mansion's driveway, with an air too lackadaisical for someone who absolutely abhors parties of any form. Or has any business here, as far as I know? The picture it forms is too bizarre for me that my mouth speaks out ahead of any coherent thought.
Ashton?
He swivels in his heel with an equally puzzled face. An odd expression flashes momentarily across it once he sees me, so he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Becca, what are you doing here?
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
Oh? That in itself is weird coming from him. It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused at some point in the crowd. His gaze darting between people walking past us until a small frown forms in his lips. In his lips? What? Until a small frown forms in his face.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Oh, well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can.
Chief?
Ashton, what's.
Unexpectedly, he places a hand on my shoulder, stopping me mid-sentence. He still has a distracted look on him, except this time his eyes are sharper, as if he has found what or who he's been searching for among our partygoers earlier.
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about.
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
I meet the smiley hastily froze my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? But before I can ask, already he has turned his back from me and is walking away, without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long, not like 3 seconds. Just a simple hello, a reminder to enjoy the party and to send their regards to her old student. But when the call ends and I get to look up, Ashton's already nowhere in sight. So if I had went to him and asked, maybe they would have still been together right now. I just thought because of the story updates. With a sigh and admittedly a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and head inside. In familiar company, however coincidental this meeting is somehow shaping up to a terrible evening. The party hits full swing an hour later. The host's opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband, the poor woman, and the guests promptly fed. The band shifts the melody to a livelier tune. Soon laughter and rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of music. It seems fun, I admit. Fascinating at certain moments, the flurry of dancers making music their own, almost with no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There's no lack of invitations anyway, plenty of them. In fact, some asking more than once. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. And I can. A single nod is all it take, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride in my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen one of them by him, curbs that, as much as I hate to admit it. Because doing so also means outright acknowledging the douche's claims. That he has to be the one to tell me that still sends my blood boiling. I would have preferred someone more agreeable, less of an arse. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Oh my gosh, how is she going to react when the pregnant, drunk friend of Hana bursts in and claims that, that he promised to run away together and stuff. She's just going to go all crazy, like, Luke is the worst. Can't wait. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the center of it makes denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention or a single glance at me the whole evening. Well, hell, Sakura might have spoken more words to me. The big guy's busy covering the vent to boot. But at least he manages to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passed by. What's Ashton's excuse? He's looking for a murderer, maybe? He's been flitting in and out of sight the whole time because, yes, he's undercover, girl. One moment, he's hanging around a small group. In another, he's hovering around the string man. Didn't she think about the fact that they're obviously working? Just a second ago, he's wolving down some deviled eggs by the buffet table with a glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he doesn't want to be with any of his friends. Is it because his boss is here? What's the big deal about that? It has never bothered him before.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
Ooh.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Her voice almost makes me jump, to focus on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of the profanities I've mumbled, or she's taking notice of my discomfiture, she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking. But I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous, snooty people. Though I suppose nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She's probably met a lot of people like little Becky throughout the years. Might have already forgotten about me or my parents. I mean, she did invite your parents, though. She's not forgotten about your parents, that's for sure. People like her thrive on connections, after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realize who she's talking about. Until Ashton walks by again in closer proximity than any of the times he has done so far this evening. Still not a look of acknowledgement our way, though. Even if Miss Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of anyone within earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend, then? Because that would explain those rejections.
This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My coworkers, more often than not, assumed he is. A few of my neighbors also think we're an item. Whether Ashton has ever reacted to those, he's been quite indifferent about it, in fact. So, the heat of a blush creeps up my cheeks, a denial ready, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a straight face, but before her good cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property.
We'll keep that in mind.
I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
That's probably foreshadowing for something that might happen later. Greg can't wait. It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although our attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. Even more once I've mentioned who my parents are. Her face quickly lights up and fondness graces her face, despite the meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things we really can't avoid talking about. After all, it's one of the few things I remember her asking me the moment she spotted little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children when there are lots we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses! And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
Ugh. I believe I still have the clothes she gave me. Chosen all so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton has always been denser than a rock, and that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Oh, I want to hear that story. Sure, he's keen. He's a detective for heaven's sake, but feelings, more often than not, escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes this whole talk all the more embarrassing. And the more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns into grimace. What would she think of me? Here she is married to a man she most probably loves at that. While I'm still stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone within earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that, but for a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take that as a chance to change the subject before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't even figured out how I should feel about the things Luke told me. Now I'm getting dragged into a similar discussion.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Though, to be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Anna's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy, that's what this is. How dare I preach about something when it's exactly what I've been doing? And then, I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That, by virtue of us growing up together, he must return whatever I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look at another because I'm the one who has stayed by his side the longest. When in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it until the time comes when I can confess it to him. Great, if he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish. I've been too selfish. How laughable that Luke's words strike true up until now.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past weeks has always seen changes in the way I view things. As nice as these things sound, it turns out whatever I previously know may not even be true for other people or for myself. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said with much certainty before now is drops muddying each of them. But there will be time to mull about these later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when Luke, strides into the now quiet ballroom, fashionably late and saying with the same pompous mien he's always carried around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
Before long, Hannah leaves my side to join him. Hana, of course. I'm so sorry, my bad. It's Hana. It's very important. Before long, Hana leaves my side to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are our ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone.
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city. A fucking course. I should have known. Although I'm partly at fault here, the boys and the gossip columns have never been really my thing. I should have also expected that whatever Luke friggin' Wright is, some sort of drama with Surefellow. He seems the kind of person who reveals in it, who revels in it. Okay, I'm just gonna reread that sentence. He seems like the kind of person who revels in it. Figures it'll find him on its own, even when he's not asking for it. Well, here we go. Great. It happens amidst a round of applause and hoots that people lagging behind a crowd they've gathered does not catch on until the cheers turn into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility.
I feel so bad for the child. Because she's drunk.
God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Yo, Hans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
Wait, is she drinking alcohol? Because she is freaking pregnant too. I hope not. The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. She might be like super sneaky and is drinking like alcohol-free stuff without anyone knowing. She like goes to the kitchen like pours it in. Yeah, that's definitely what's going on. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently, she's the chief inspector's wife too. As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions this will bring, I'm more worried about Hana. Maybe Luke too, in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable that is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hana? Well, as refined and well-mannered as she is in front of their guests, I'm not sure if she'll be all too willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared to walk over it. Yet when I glance at her, there's only defeat, a weary slump on her shoulders, and a certain depth to her breathing. Like that fight has already been drained out of her long ago. I don't know since when this has been going on. I don't know either of them well to judge for myself. I'm simply an outsider who happens to have some kind of connection with both of them. But the air of a person who wishes for respite, it's all too easy to see it in her as she quietly watches the commotion carry on around her. In a moment, before I can think it through, I'm pulling her to the side and wave Zachary over to us.
Becca, this is a real oh, hey, Miss Wright.
Hello, Zachary. I told you to call me Hana. Did I not?
Yeah, you did.
Admittedly, this air of familiarity between them catches me off guard. I won't put it past Hana. her standing in society compels her to keep appearances, the be nice to everyone sort of thing. While Zachary's growing client base sometimes calls for rubbing elbows with the rich and famous, although from the way it appears, this one seems to go beyond maintaining a facade or work. I wonder how this friendship came to be. I'd ask, but we're starting to attract some curious eyes. Most of them are probably searching for more gossip. Something to add fuel to the fire. Thankfully, there's no need to explain it to Zachary. I was aware of the situation all too well.
So, this is what you called me for? We gonna get Hana out of here?
That'd be great.
Soon he was leading the three of us out of the ballroom. Anyone who dares speak or approach us in our way out, I shut them down with a sharp glare. In a few steps, we're out, away from the commotion and the suffocating tension. I don't stay along with them though. Even if I want to, Ashton's still somewhere in that crowd. I've got to go back for him at least. No matter how much the idea of that alone sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach.
Hey, I gotta go back in there. Completely forgot my bag like an airhead, and I'll see if I can tag Ash on the way out. You'll be fine here, right, Hannah?
Not to worry, dearie. I'll just be right here.
Zach will be with you if you need anything.
Besides, it seems Zachary can handle this without another person helping out. In fact, for some reason, I got this strange impression that I might be intruding on something if I elect to remain. Better to entrust this with someone she's comfortable with. And though it might still be a little inappropriate considering what has transpired, a smile worms its way to my lips as I leave. Good on them, I suppose. Shatters exploded throughout the whole ballroom once I returned. Horrid murmurs, clicking of tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't even left the premises, and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet and tabloid in Blacksburg. No wonder looks knee-deep into damage control. The scandalous woman gone, he has turned his attention on the media covering the event. Though so far, he isn't faring well in the cleanup department.
Now, people, we all know the drill. I'm sure you're all itching to get a start on those articles.
Good thing Zachary isn't here. I can't imagine a man of his temperament dealing with someone like him.
But if I read one word, see one picture about this come morning, even a single shot of the bloody wine glass the harlot held, you will all lose more than your jobs.
Luke's diatribe goes on for another few minutes, after which he excuses himself out of the area. There's a brief lull, a reluctant pause, before the place comes astir again, but shortly the bus returns. Dancers have once again taken to the floor and their guests excited talk begins now. And you. But I couldn't care less about any of this now. Simply standing in the middle of it already gives me a headache. When the shock has faded, I just feel bone tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I've come here for, and apparently Ashton's disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he ignored me the whole evening and might have just left without saying anything, or knowing obviously there's some other motive for being here. Can't you at least trust his own friends for that? It's confidential, lady. You can't just tell us. She can't tell anyone about that. Isn't she supposed to be, like, smart? Seriously? Isn't she supposed to be smart?
He didn't have to hide it from me.
It's the last straw. No longer in the mood, I grab my bag and head out, more than ready to end the disastrous night as early as possible. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet, because no sooner— oh gosh, again. Don't tell me they can actually end up together. Because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one look right. No sign of Hana or Zachary. just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make while he trades around the empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much this scandalous him shaken. And he looks really terrified, actually. Is this like the yellow thing? Is that supposed to be like... Don't tell me that's like some weird aura stuff again, or is it supposed to be the light from the... I don't even know. Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure. He appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly in that 1 second in the hallway at school. It's a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open. Behind closed doors, this is the real look, right? Okay, he's probably not a murderer. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet. Busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders and he whirls around to face me. There's a second-long moment of anger flashing across his features before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight. That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxborn if I could.
Was it really a lie? He probably palms everything off to their servants and Hana. Pompous, elitist douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. Is she seriously, like, getting into him? I don't know about that. The questions and criticisms aren't lacking, of course, but right this instant there's only one that comes to mind. Ooh. Oh, you know, I just want to ask, is it true? But will he seriously tell us that? I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Like, why did I? This is insane. This is insane. What have I done? This is so weird. Well, I don't really know. Wait. Oh no. Is it true?
Is there some truth to it then?
Oof. To his credit, he does appear still extremely offended and repulsed by the notion. His mortified expression alone answers the question, but I want to hear from him, even if it takes nothing short of a derisive tone. Just answer.
Daisy? Oh, Daisy. If you believed every scandal that came along, I'd have 100 children already. Do me a favor and give me a break. I get enough of this false shite from the tabloids.
Well, you know, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's not true. If I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's true. And I mean, asking it would just be like, yeah, I guess.
You know, brooding over here isn't going to fix this mess.
Again with the lecture.
Will you stop calling it that?
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart? Please don't, I might puke. And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
This isn't one, all right? It's just a friendly concern. Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly, he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end, he simply stuffs them back to his pockets and sulks. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with, after all. I honestly won't give him a second of my time if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders has eased, and when he speaks again, despite his rather rude choice of words, not as any venom in it.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the Munta if she sees her again. After she's done with me, of course.
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from mild disdain to offended, but I don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they're coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood. Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
Maybe tomorrow.
Luke!
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
Well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you. How about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
So did she? Oh, jeez.
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
Like, I'm confused. Like, did he really admit to cheating, or did he mean, like, in her view, he's been cheating? I don't know, man.
Oh, I do.
Before I've even thought about what to say, I've known there can only be two ways this can go. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can't fix. His martial problems first and foremost, his attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix, and it's definitely not by staying around here bantering.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
You think this is funny, Daisy?
Laughter is the only response I give him. With a slight wave of my hand, TLDR, stop sulking. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Oh no, it's the shadow again. Oh, okay, I see. Maybe that was why there was a shadow, but she couldn't. What if that was the case? But she couldn't see the ghost yet because she hadn't touched the letter. So the reason why it was like glooming shadow, because now their shadow is there again. See, so maybe that's what the thing is. So the shadow, she saw the shadow, but because she hadn't touched the letter, she couldn't actually see the woman, the ghost. I guess makes sense, right? Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Those eyes, though. Like the first time I stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there, too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCullough? And that shadow. No, A woman now. Exactly. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, got it. Her. No longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. A crippling sensation gripping every part of me, while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something, a warning, but before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind me, as if to keep outsiders away from the secrets this mansion possesses. The brush of fresh air against my cheeks does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear and disquiet it leaves whenever I see her is familiar enough for me. Already has made a home in my nerves. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seeps through the thick material on my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise, returning that is, especially after what happened. But Hannah's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't share whatever misfortune that letter might bring. I can't just leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to?
If you're done here, let's go. I'll get you back to the city. My mistake. The second his voice cuts through the crisp night air is that I've allowed my annoyance to get better of me. No, you should have told them. Or maybe that was her save line, I don't know. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. Let's just read the entry before I forget. As she was about to leave the party, Rebecca caught sight of a sulking Luke. She reminded him that brooding wouldn't fix anything, and that he should be with his wife instead. Before leaving the embarrassed man, Rebecca caught a glimpse of a shadow standing behind him. The plot thickens. One accusation after another piles up at the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling it at him. That straight face he keeps as I do so doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time since that mess in the hall. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he had shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A cynic gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. Impressive. I think I need to sleep. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst the thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulders.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps, I might have waited patiently for this. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. Oh, hiccup. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him, but whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hana Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now, especially the husband.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. She is so screwed, isn't she?
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of the name, but whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. It's like the... It's like the... Are like them... Are they cursed? Because they live in the house now? I don't know. He did... Oh, right. But what did Kylie mention? Like, she mentioned, like, some strange business that Luke and her father were doing. That was confidential. That is suspicious. Who knows? He might be the killer in the end, and either way. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
It's my turn to frown this time. What does he mean by that? Yeah, what does he mean? I mean, how big of a difference is this? But... Dang. This is not going to end well, is it? Well, care to explain your reasons?
Care to explain your reasons?
I don't know if it got higher or not, but I'm not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match in me, particularly nights like this. It's not surprising what Ashton York expects is if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt dodged across his features, his eyes narrowing and hands closing in tightly into a fist at his sides. Then swiftly glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? The vague answers he continues to give? Does it include all those times before this? The year's worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm all too willing to hand, furious as I am. It's frankly a wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow, and you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away. A short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent, eyes still trained at a distance. This is the last glimpse I see of him before I climb inside his car. If the door slams closed with the same force as the anger I'm holding, its sound merely vanishes into the night unnoticed. Rebecca found Ashton waiting for her upon exiting the mansion. Irked because he was nowhere to be found during the entire party, she demanded to know what was going on. But he couldn't give her an answer. Rebecca warned that they'd still talk about it some other time. Dang. Fall soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. Yet, even with city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salemwell. Even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rifle. Oh my god. I'm almost getting embarrassed right now. My rating is just getting horrible, isn't it? And you have no idea how many times I've been yawning. I'm so tired, but I want to play. The atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he lies and dawdles awkwardly in the middle of the car park and sure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. I could have driven him away purely out of spite the second I've gotten off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might still rear its head every time I look at him right now, but I'm not too cruel to put him up on another long drive, especially when he still appears as if he hasn't gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before a protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he eyes it with a aware expression and shoots a puzzled glance my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shout past him, pulling my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course, he's still skeptical. It makes me want to wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures these cars will stay away from the scuffer. But this is another loose end tonight, and that I can't just leave alone, Ashton's beliefs notwithstanding. It just so happens that it's one I can delve into using a means other than taking a look at the mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I've spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before I can finish it, I cut him off with a firm raise of my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird.
Okay, I'm so happy right now.
Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead, although I know he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there's a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too... conflicted?
Are you really sure?
What?
Hey.
That there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go, and you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have a quip or two about that, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I am left staring after him. There's something in the way he asks it that nags. Coupled with his expression, the whole exchange just feels unsettling. One that doesn't fade even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrew's number. And that is when it clicks. During a long wait for the professor, one stray throat emerges from the unease. Ashton is not intended for his question to be a jibe. It's concern. For what, though? For my well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answer for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects and Professor Andrew's voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is a more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.